Guys, welcome to another episode of the Guys Telling Stories podcast.
Well, welcome.
I'm Rich Douglas.
I'm Bill Easton.
And I am Sean.
Hey, Sean, how you doing over there?
Not too bad, man.
All right, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm excited about our guest today.
Me too.
Craig Muni, yeah.
Me too, man.
You know, but guys, I always like to say thanks for all the social media love. We have been getting a ton of shares for our past episodes and a bunch of Facebook likes, people following us on Twitter, and that is very, very appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You can always find our social media at our website, guystellingstories.com, so go check that out. We got a lot of cool stuff over there.
What else?
One more thing you guys could go check out. Head to guystellingstories.com and check out our merch. We got shirts.
That's it. We have shirts.
Yeah, we got shirts. Well, but we got a lot of shirts. We got a few shirts, different colors for men, women. For babies, we got that baby shirt out there yet?
Baby shirt's there. No one's buying them yet, though. So,
okay.
You know, send it as a gift, okay? Yeah. You don't have to buy one for your own baby.
Yeah. Get a shirt, put it on your baby.
Halloween's around the corner.
There you go.
Oh, that'd be great.
Also, guys, while you're over at guystellingstories.com, if you're looking to buy anything on Amazon, you go to guystellingstories.com first. You click on the Amazon link, and that'll take you right to Amazon. No tricks here. All it does is it lets Amazon know that you went to our website first, and then you buy your products as you would, and we get a little kickback.
Speaking of Amazon, we do have our Amazon Prime Music offer. So for those of you who are not too familiar with that, that is the only online streaming service with free 2-day shipping, and it's unlimited on-demand music. They got curated playlists, they got personalized stations, it's all ad-free.
Unlimited skips.
You skip as many times as you like. I know. Like it. You know, my wife, she's getting involved in these fitness classes, and she had to look for some playlist. And all of a sudden, she's on Amazon Prime Music, and she has all the latest music saved right to her phone. And she has these playlists, and she can play them with Wi-Fi, without Wi-Fi. She loves it. So if you're interested in checking that out, it is a free offer. You got it free for 30 days. Head to our website, guystellingstories.com, and check that out first. And thank you.
All right, boys, you ready for this?
Try at home.
Here we go. What do you guys got this week for Try at Home?
You want to go first?
You go first.
All right.
Mine's ridiculous.
Yours is always ridiculous. All right, for my Try at Home this week, I have the Fitbit Blaze. You guys Fitbit users?
Not personally,
no.
But I know a guy.
I know someone too.
You know, I have a couple of
bragging about this
Fitbit Blaze brothers and sisters out there. I think you know what I'm talking about. I started tracking my steps right around New Year's time, and this device is incredible. It calculates your steps. It actually does your calories, though, too, and your heart rate, and it's GPS enabled, so if you're outside for a run or you're doing some exercise, you get all those stats. It even helps you track your sleep. So I suggest personally getting the Fitbit Blaze, signing up, finding other friends, and kind of be a little competitive with your steps each day or each week, and it just kind of helps keep fitness on your mind. All right, Bill, what do you got this week?
Oh my gosh, I have the Ostrich Pillow. Have you seen this yet? Have you watched?
We're looking at a picture of it right now. I'll post it on our website.
Okay, this is it. It is a pillow that kind of fits onto your head and face, so you can be in the dark, and you can basically put your head anywhere. So it's actually really cool to use if you're traveling, you're on a plane, train, something, because it's very comfortable, it's very dark, and you can't really hear because it's so insulated. But it's also cool. It's got a bunch of holes. You can put your hands up in there too if you want to lean on your desk or whatever. It looks a little goofy when you use it in public, but I haven't, hasn't kept me from doing that. So,
no, I got to say, folks, he looks so absurd wearing his ostrich pillow when he is catching some Z's for a power nap that no one dares to disturb him. They think it's some sort of medical device, and
that's right.
He has a real issue.
It is also the only reason I now know how to spell ostrich.
Awesome. Well, as always, if you like the sound of my Fitbit Blaze or Bill's Ostrich Pillow, along with all the other products from throughout this season, head on over to our Guys Telling Stories website, click on the Try at Home tab, and check it out.
It's worth just seeing the Ostrich Pillow.
The picture alone. All right, let's get to our guest this week.
Let's do it.
We have Craig Muni, hockey legend, NHL alumni. I'm very excited. Mm-hmm. He's our first professional hockey player.
Yes.
And Bill, you're a huge fan of this guy.
Oh my gosh, yes, he's you left out 3-time Stanley Cup winner.
I did. I buried the lead. This guy has won 3 Stanley Cups. I've seen the rings. He played with some of the greatest NHL players. Some would say of all time.
Yep, and we talked to him earlier this summer. He is starting a new business, and he wanted to talk to us about that before it was up and running. So we did talk to him earlier this summer, and we kind of put this episode, we kind of waited until the World Cup of Hockey started, and that's going on right now, and that is fabulous to watch.
Yeah,
also.
And, he's coaching the NWHL Buffalo Buttes.
And if you enjoyed the episode with him, make sure you check out our friends at 716 Sports Podcast, and they also have an episode with Craig Muni from about a month ago.
Yeah, so we met Craig at Warehouse Buffalo Wild Wings, and it was a beautiful day. We sat on the outdoor patio, so let's get to our interview with Craig Muni. Craig, welcome to the show.
This is the first podcast I've ever done, so
What?
excited
That's
to be
crazy.
here.
Yeah, I always wonder if the people we're talking to, if this is their first time.
We should ask that from now on.
Well, we'll be gentle. Yeah, So before we get too far into it, Craig, some people like to maybe check you out online, social media, anything you could plug?
I'm on Twitter at Craig Muni and LinkedIn also. Those are pretty much the only two that I do right now.
Yeah, I think you're the first guest to mention LinkedIn. Yeah, but it's a good...
He's proud of it.
It's more of a business side
It
of things,
is.
I guess. So
Now, from what I know too, if someone checks you out, you get a little notification that they're looking at you, right?
correct. So which is a little different than the other ones too. So if you have someone that's stalking you, you kind of get a warning that someone's been checking you out ahead of time.
Well, I'm out.
Well, yeah, go check out Craig.
I had to block Bill out, so it's all right.
Sorry, buddy. Well, Craig, we like to take our guests way back on this path, this journey, and we've talked to some athletes before, but you're the first athlete who is somebody who's climbed that mountain, so to speak, meaning they're not hoping to get signed by a team. They're not like looking forward to their first professional competition.
Well, I like that. You kind of put that gently of another way of saying, well, you're kind of old.
Kind of.
Your career's over.
No, I caught myself right in the middle of like, man, I better be careful with this. I wanted to basically say accomplished. You're one of the first athletes who said, yeah, I
Accomplished is much
went,
better.
Yeah, I went to a Stanley Cup. I went to actually 3, and you won all 3.
And I
that's-
won all 3.
Yeah, perfect record, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's take us back. Like, where'd you grow up, and what was that like?
Originally, I'm from, grew up in Toronto. Kind of started off on the east side of Toronto in the Scarborough area. Ended up downtown, and then out to Mississauga before, I think it was about 17 before I left home moved away from home to go pursue a hockey career playing in it was the OHA back then, which is now the OHL.
Okay. Well, now, I bet a lot of people out there are going to be curious. What type of family raises somebody that becomes a professional athlete? What were mom and dad like, brothers and sisters?
I've got one younger sister, so unfortunately I didn't have a brother. So my sister was very much a tomboy. So if I needed a goalie, she went and played net. She played pretty much all the sports I played outside, out in the street that wasn't organized. Just kind of, as a kid, picking up hockey or football or baseball in the street. So she was really, although my sister, she was like a brother to me. Mom and dad were, I guess, normal, good old Canadian folks. They got divorced when we were younger, which is why we ended up moving downtown Toronto, lived with my grandmother for a while. And then when my mom got remarried, it was actually to one of my hockey coach, which I was always wonder why I got on the power play then.
Yeah, there you go.
And then we moved out to Mississauga, so I was there until basically to junior. So
Yeah. Besides hockey, what other sports were you into?
growing up, I used to play in the summertime baseball during school days. Played for the team sports. I was playing basketball, volleyball, track and field. So I loved it all.
Yeah.
How old were you when you started skating?
I was probably, if I ask my mom, she says I was probably 2, but I don't know if you can count Bob's skates, wearing a pair of winter boots and walking around on ice as skating. So I'd say it was probably more around that 5-6 range. And then first time I played organized hockey, I was playing house league at age 8.
Cool.
From there.
Now, when I was younger, I realized pretty quickly, I think it was around 7 or 8, I was like the fastest kid on my block, right? And you never run long distances. It's like who can outrun the guy catching the football or who can run the bases the fastest. So by the time I got to, let's say, middle school and high school, I was still like pretty fast. But then you meet a few kids, you go to like a sectional meet, you go to state meet, something like that, that are real fast. Were you particularly good at like one thing that better than all the other kids?
Well, it's like you said, when you grow up, you're in a little bubble and you are the best of the best in that little bubble. As you advance and start looking for better competition, and as you start getting older, you start realizing it's a big world and there are a lot of talented players no matter what your sport that you're playing. I like to use an analogy where I'm a firm believer in hard work versus talent. Growing up as a kid, I was probably, say, in the top 5 best players on the team, sometimes the captain or assistant captain, but I was never the best player. Mm-hmm. So I really firmly believe the kids who were the best players at that time, that were the can't miss, for sure going to make it, never got drafted, never played college, never played junior hockey. So I'm a firm believer that if you work hard and you have some ability, you have a great work ethic as you're a kid, and you keep that work ethic and you only make yourself better.
Is there a story behind, like, I'm going to work harder than everybody else?
Well, I think going back to a certain point in time, I guess I was no different than any other kid, that sometimes you just get burnt out or you get tired of the sport. And I remember particularly probably when I was like about 13, 14-ish, for whatever reason it was, I don't recall, but I wanted to give up hockey and quit hockey. I had enough. So my dad then, nobody argued with me, but he took me to a junior A game. The Toronto Marlies were playing at the Maple Leaf Gardens, and we sat right at the glass level, right beside the penalty box. And I had no idea what junior A hockey really was at that age. He said, well, basically this would be, you play your midget hockey, you get drafted into this league, and then from this league you get drafted into the NHL. Well, as soon as he said that, my eyes and ears lit up. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's only a couple years away. Didn't realize I was that close after you're thinking you put all that time and effort into it, that it's just a pipe dream. So it kind of rejuvenated myself to dedicate on what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to play. I knew I wanted to play in the NHL. So that's really one story. But then as I got older, I'm sitting at another arena, Ted Reeves Arena in Toronto, and I'm watching my sister do her figure skating. And back then, the figure skating, you had to do the figure eights, so it was pretty boring to watch. So he said something to me about, I bet you will never make it to the NHL. And I think I was might have been playing junior or getting close to playing junior, and I looked at him thinking, okay, that's an odd thing to say.
Yeah.
So I asked him, well, what would make you think that? He said, I'll bet you girls, drugs, or alcohol keeps you out of the NHL. And so he started telling me stories about his days and some good players he played with who should have made it but didn't make it for those reasons. But inside, he pissed me off so much that I remembered it to the day where we were sitting and when it happened. And I never said anything to him, but I kept that inside of me. And after my whole 16-year NHL career came and got left, and I retired, I was talking to my dad one day, and I told him that story, and I said, you know what, that was the best thing you could have ever said to me without really probably realizing what you said. But again, everybody is motivated differently, mm-hmm. and a lot of times there's doubters out there, or people will say you're too slow or you're not skilled enough, and those, instead of using those as a deterrent, should be a motivator.
So your dad took you to a game to show you how close you were, and then told you. Then
shot me right back down. Yeah.
No, your younger self. Your younger self definitely would not understand what he's talking about.
Exactly. No, and you don't appreciate it till later when you think back on it, but you didn't forget it.
Oh, but he's so right. And he picked some pretty good things that were going to deter you. I mean, he covered all his bases, basically.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of guys falter because of
mm-hmm.
those exact reasons. Injuries is another big one, but injuries are something that's out of your control.
Yeah.
So as a kid, you have to, at a certain point in time, you do have to dedicate yourself to the sport you're playing. You end up having to miss parties that your friends are going to. You lose contact with your friends. Your friends are your teammates, the people who are surrounding you with what you do.
All right. Well, let's move it forward a little bit. So now you're 17, 18. You decide to start maybe pursuing this, I guess I'm going to use the term full-time. So take us back in that moment. What's that first step to like your path to becoming a professional athlete?
Well, you have to go through at the time, back in our era, I guess, as a Canadian kid, it was the college scholarships were not as important as playing junior A, only because during that time period when you're being drafted to the NHL, it was mostly the junior players versus a college kid being drafted. So
right.
if you wanted to play in the NHL, you had to pick the avenue that gave you the best opportunity, which was to play junior. So we went to I forgot the hotel, was over by the airport, and they had the OHA draft there. We got a letter in the mail asking if I were to be drafted, would I attend the team's
Wow, they ask you
camp.
ahead of time, huh?
Yeah, well, especially now they have to because of the scholarships. And kids now, they do have to choose early between scholarships or the junior leagues up in Canada. Mm-hmm. So by the time they're 14, 15, they have to know which avenue they're going to go down just because of NCAA rules.
Right.
So it's a little bit different now. So I remember I was drafted in the 7th round to go to Kingston Canadians, which is pretty late in the draft. And then first round was Rick Wilson, defenseman from Kingston. Second round was Mike Stuthers, defenseman from St. Mike's. Third round was Jim Aldred, who was an underage defenseman from, I forgot, somewhere else. So I went 7th round, and I was the 4th defenseman picked that year.
Oh.
So I'm thinking, okay, I've got my work ahead of me.
Yeah.
So I went to training camp, and again, you're brand new to this, not knowing what's going on. You're fighting the urge to go home because you miss home. You're 17 years old, taken away from your family. You're put in a hotel, going through a training camp, the rigors of a training camp, and then found out that basically they only had 2 returning defensemen, Neil Bellin and Peter Deneen. So out of training camp and exhibition games, all 4 of us made the team. And back then, usually your first year of playing junior A, you sit and you watch and you learn. You don't play a lot. But because there was only 2 returning defensemen and Peter Deneen was hurt for probably 3/4 that year, they had no choice but to play us 17-year-olds.
Wow.
So
that's great.
We were it was baptism by fire, really, which was great for my career.
So you are one of the first people we've talked to that has successfully been drafted. And nowadays, when you are watching ESPN, they have these cameras in your living room, or there's this big celebration in Chicago or in New York City or even in Buffalo. What was it like for you that day hearing you're now drafted to the NHL?
Yeah, I kind of got a little funny story on that. I was told by my agent that I was going to be drafted by Philadelphia Flyers in the first round if I was still available. So back then there was only 21 teams, and Philadelphia had the last pick of the round, so they had the 21st pick. So we weren't sure if we should go to Montreal for the draft, and then they encouraged us, said that you should be there, you're going to go in the first round for sure. So we went. So they get to the 21st pick. Philadelphia gets up to the podium, and I forgot who was making the announcement. They stand up, they say thank you to the Montreal and the Montreal Canadiens. Philadelphia Flyers are proud to select from the Kingston Canadians. And I'm thinking, this is it. Defenseman, I'm thinking, this is it. Mike Stuthers. And I'm halfway standing up thinking, what the hell just happened? Who did he say?
Yeah.
So I sat down, I'm looking around thinking, what happened? My agent told me I was supposed to go that pick if I was available. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
After that, I was just kind of in a panic. Now what? Where do I go? When do I go?
Yeah, you must be thinking like, am I just going to start sliding?
Yeah, your world's over.
Yeah.
You thought that was a for sure slam dunk. And then 4 picks later, the Leafs had the 25th pick, and they announced my name, and I was still in a fog of days. I didn't even hear my name. My folks are jumping up and down, being from Toronto.
Yeah,
they're
right.
all jumping, celebrating. Get down there, get down there.
So you got drafted by your hometown.
I did.
That's a dream. I would think it's a dream for most people.
Yeah, well, growing up in Toronto, you follow the Leafs religiously as they do even to today. So I love the Leafs. Used to watch Hockey Night in Canada every Wednesday, every Saturday. It was on twice a week. My parents used to barter and threaten if I didn't do my homework or I didn't behave, I couldn't watch Hockey Night in Canada. You may as well pull my teeth out if I couldn't watch it. So
That's cool.
So we always ask about a no turning back moment. Now that you're drafted and you're starting this long career, was there a no turning back moment for you?
It's funny. I guess I never looked at it that way, that you phrase it that way, but I think everybody has in their own mind when you really made it or finally made it. For me, it was when I first saw my first hockey card.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
As a kid, you collected hockey cards, you traded them, you used to flip them, you used to throw them up against the wall. So hockey cards were meant a lot as a child growing up. So when you first saw your name and your stats and picture and everything on a hockey card, that was kind of a big sigh. I guess I did make it finally.
Did you practice that autograph? Right on your own card?
I did. Well, I still get letters to this day for requests for autographs, whether at work or at home. So
That's cool.
It's funny they're dwindled in numbers, but they still come.
That's great.
What's the weirdest thing anyone sent you to sign?
Oh, there's just always body parts other than clothing.
Well, you know what I was kind of curious about before we go too much deeper is just some of these fun stories. I mean, you're a guy that has played with some amazing other athletes that has, I said it before, reached the top of that mountain. You literally are hoisting the Stanley Cup. I mean, Bill, we don't really know what that's like around here.
No, they obviously, we've heard other NHL players talk about the first time they did it, and they always, they're all special, which is amazing that you can have more than one. But do you remember the experience? Do you remember, was it a home game?
It was a home game. It was actually Game 7.
Okay.
So they're right. Everyone is special in a different way. Obviously, the first one is the first one. You're a kid growing up, just your aspirations to play in the NHL, and then as a dream come true, then you're playing street hockey, and it's Game 7, Stanley Cup final. You score the game-winning goal, you win the Stanley Cup out in the street. So to win it, I guess it's so hard to describe because it's just such an emotional feeling than the physical feeling. It was basically, we were playing Philadelphia Flyers in 1987, and then we were up 3-1 in the finals. And the next 2 games, we were up 3-1 in score, 2-1 in score. And Philadelphia ended up tying and ended up winning both games. They forced Game 7. So Game 7, it's a 2-1 game. Same scenario as the last 2 games that we lost. And you're thinking, okay, this is too close to be good. Then Glenn Anderson scored a goal with about 5 minutes left in the game, crossed over the blue line, a long shot went in on Ron Hextall, and we went up 3-1. And it was at that moment that you kind of let your guard down a bit. And obviously I was the young 24-year-old, and everyone else has already won 2 cups, and they were still focused and still playing hard. I'm jumping up and down. I'm screaming. I lost my voice like we already won the damn game.
Right.
So then when we finally won, it was like just overcome with emotions of you finally did it, and to win it Stanley Cup, like Bill said, so many guys play the game for so long, and some fantastic Hall of Fame players that don't even come close to ever winning it once. And I was fortunate enough to win 3 of them, and it became almost a bad season in Edmonton if you didn't win the Cup. It was expected to win the Cup. And the next one in '88, it was someone gave me the advice of watch the guys winning it for the first time, and that's why we're playing, is for them again.
Wow.
Which again is why that team concept, if you'll know the difference between a good team and a bad team and a close team and a not close team. And when they said that, and to watch the guys, their eyes, how they lit up, the emotion, it makes you go back to that first time you won it. So that was best advice that I was given. And then the third one, my son was just born 2 months prior to winning the Stanley Cup, so that one made that pretty special. I've got a picture of him sitting in the cup when he's 2 months old.
That's awesome. Do you remember who handed you the cup?
That I do not. I'm probably sure I stole it right out of their hands.
As long
as it wasn't Gretzky.
I was always curious.
Give me that, Wayne.
Who gets it when? You always say everybody gets it. I know, but is there an order?
Sometimes there probably is an order. Especially, I guess at the time you didn't think too much about it, unless you were the one that was kind of handing it out or dictating it.
Right.
But now when you watch it and you listen to the commentary, sometimes the order doesn't seem or make sense if you're the the average fan or an NHL fan, you're thinking, well, it should go through the pecking order of best to worst or whatever it might be. But as we saw this past one with Pittsburgh and Trevor Daley with how great he played in the struggles with the passing, I believe it was his mother, that he got it early, which was great to see. And so, I think Dupuis, who this is probably his last year of playing because of the blood clot, so there's probably a story and a reason of some of that pecking order too.
It probably got created by the media, like tried to figure out what the order was, and then all of a sudden
make a story out of it.
Yeah, then Calgary wins, and it's like, well, we have to have an order because they said that there was an order last year, and we were home watching it.
I think both teams should just submit before those final games what their pecking order of the cup will be. Then nobody has to guess.
Yeah, that's good.
Including the players.
You know, in some ways, when you lose that last game, you know, you don't want to leave the ice, or maybe you want to get off it right away. But I'm thinking, like, when you win it, you don't want to leave either. You don't want the moment to end.
Yeah, it's kind of, I guess, a catch-22. Like, it seemed like this year the Penguins stayed out there forever for pitchers and family pitchers, which is great for them, but not so great for I'm sure the San Jose fans or the players. If it was your home ice, it might be a little different. Where to this day, to me, the Stanley Cup is a trophy you share, and so are the Stanley Cup rings. But there's a time in a moment when the team needs to be together and privately in the dressing room, although you're not privately because you got the TV cameras there. But even to this day, with Stanley Cup rings, if I'm doing a function, I'll wear my Stanley Cup ring. I'll let other people wear it, or especially their kids wear it who have no idea who I am or what that ring is.
Yeah.
But they'll have a picture of it, and their parents will explain it to them, especially as they get older. And it's one of those community championships that is just shared through the generations and through whatever city you're in.
That's cool. So you got to play on what some people say was the greatest offensive team in the history of hockey, with Curry and Anderson and Gretzky and Messier. Then you're back there playing defense.
Yeah, what was that? That's what Grant Fuhr was for, wasn't it?
Well,
I'm sure there's a question. There's a question in there somewhere.
When I was a defenseman playing soccer, and sometimes I would get caught up watching some of the skill that the forwards had to the point where I'm not running or keeping up with the play, and my gaps are getting too big because I'm just in awe of how fast this guy. And I would literally come to like a stop and watch and just be. And I guess I'm asking, did you get caught up with some of that with who you played for and some of the skill and some of the speed, especially?
Yeah, sometimes you do. Especially those pretty tic-tac-toe plays, or a guy beats a guy one-on-one, and it's like even sometimes you see it a lot with basketball, some of those great plays or great moves, and you could see the bench and even the players' reactions of, wow, how did he do that? Or so it was no different with watching Wayne or Messier or Anderson, Curry, Tikkanen, Craig Simpson. We had so many goal scorers and Hall of Famers on that team that, again, my job was to get the puck up to them, let them do their magic, and then when we didn't have the puck, get it back and play defense and give it back up to them. So, but you're right. Whether you're on the ice or you're on the bench, sometimes you're just in awe of watching what is happening out there, and to practice with them every day and skate against them every day and line rushes and one-on-one, it only makes you better individually as a player as well.
Well, let's keep it going though. We always like to ask about a challenge on your path, and it sounds like you had a very successful path. So, can you think of a challenge that you had to overcome?
Yeah, I think everybody has an obstacle they have to overcome, or something that makes them question what they're doing or why they're doing it, or should they continue doing it. And I had that same moment. Again, if I go back to my early years with the Leafs, and I've stuck in the minors, played 4 years in the minors, and I think I played maybe 18 NHL games with the Leafs at the time. So I remember getting a call from my mom asking me, I was on my last year of the deal, so my contract was over, possibly my career would be over. I was a free agent to sign with anyone. And my mom called like halfway through the season. Okay, well, when the season's over, what are you going to do? You're going to go back to school and blah, blah, blah. And Okay, well, that's not really what I want to do. It might have to be an option. And then I had such a good season that I had interest from about 8 NHL teams. I was called up to the Leafs with the last month of the season, and Claire Alexander was the assistant coach. He calls me into his office after practice and said, the Leafs want to sign you to a new contract. So I'm thinking, okay, well, this is great. So I told Claire that it's so late in the season right now, and I know that there's probably about 8 NHL teams who are interested. You will definitely listen to the Leafs come July 1st, but I'm not going to sign a contract right now. So needless to say, the Leafs sent me back to the minors the very next day.
Mm-hmm. They want your value to decrease.
Yeah, so, but I had to weigh that time in the minors that year. I was having a good year. John Brophy, the late John Brophy, just was the coach who was going to he was already named the head coach of the Maple Leafs that next year. And Gary LaRiviere was the assistant coach, and a player assistant coach who was my partner was going to be his assistant. They both liked me, so I had to weigh, will they give me an opportunity, or will the decision be not made by the coaches but by management, who I was not drafted by and haven't been given an opportunity in 4 years. So basically all we did was we asked the 8 teams a guarantee that I would play half the exhibition games, because I think I played maybe 2 at the most any given time with the Leafs. So I wanted to play half, which was probably about 6 or 7 games, which is not asking for much.
No
GM would give me that guarantee, but Glenn Sather, when we met him in the summer when he came to Toronto, and he said, I can't give it to you in writing, but you have my word and a handshake. And to this day, I played half those exhibition games, and I made the team out of training camp.
Wow.
Cool.
So there's
exactly half?
It probably ended up being more, but at the time, the Oilers just lost to Calgary when Steve Smith banked that winning goal in off of Grant Fuhr's back of his leg. So I looked at the team roster. Lee Fogelin, Don Jackson, Randy Gregg, and Charlie Huddy were all getting old. They just lost the Stanley Cup, and old I mean late 20s,
right.
Yeah.
early 30s.
Right.
But in hockey, that's getting up there. So there was a player named Larry Melnick who was playing for the farm team in Halifax, and if one of the defensemen got hurt, Larry was always the first call up. Larry just signed with the Bruins, so that left that spot open. So with Glenn Sather's handshake, and even if he wasn't to his word, I figured if I didn't make the team, I went to Halifax, I would be the first call up, so I could parlay that into another contract with another team. When I went from, Toronto, the 4 years there, in the 21 league team league, they never finished any better than 16th. So I'm going from a bottom team to a potential Stanley Cup team. So you could easily translate that into another contract, worst case scenario. But I had good training camp. They traded Don Jackson right during an exhibition game. They yanked him out of the dressing room. Told him he just got traded to Minnesota. He has to leave the dressing room immediately. So they're trying to find a player to fill in the roster for that exhibition game.
Well, it's unfortunate you weren't playing Minnesota.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I saw that happen too. Estetikina got traded to New York for Doug Waite when we were in New York. And the trade happened while we were having our afternoon nap.
This was a regular season
This
game.
was a regular season
Yeah,
game.
I remember this.
Yeah, so we got off the bus. Estetikkinen's bag was packed. He took it out of the dressing room, walked it to the Ranger dressing room, and Bernie came into our dressing room, and we played that night.
Yeah, what an odd day
That's
for
great.
him. Oh, that was an interesting challenge for you to have to overcome. Did you learn a lesson that helped you moving forward?
Yeah, I think you learn not to take anything for granted. Like, again, I was the 25th draft pick overall by the Maple Leafs. They didn't have a first-round pick that year, so I was their first pick of that draft. And you think you can't just rest on your laurels that everything is going to be peachy keen and smooth and that you got it made, unless you're a Sidney Crosby, a McDavid, and they're far and few in between. So I never took anything for granted. I played when I probably shouldn't have played. I was always afraid to lose my job. I was always afraid to be sent to the minors. So the only you learn the difference between playing hurt and playing injured and what you can and can't do. But there were a lot of games during that era where we were all the same, and you didn't want to not play because there's a chance someone would take your job.
Yeah.
So now you live in Buffalo. You are according to a lot of the stuff that we looked up on you, because we wanted to catch up a little.
Stalker.
You are hockey legend.
He's been on LinkedIn again.
Hockey legend Craig Muni. So hockey legend, that is also listed on the Oilers site. It is on the Maple Leaf site. People call you hockey legend.
That's a
So
nice
you
term
did
for being old.
something. Yeah, you did something.
That's
to-
what I should have said in the beginning.
even though you left Toronto, you did end up going back to Toronto at some point also. So it couldn't have been too bad there.
Yeah, well, I grew up from Toronto. That's why, you know what, for me, I only played just shy of 3 seasons with the Sabres here. But when it came to the decision to retire and where to retire to, for me and my family, it was no-brainer. Buffalo was the obvious choice. Between the people we met outside the game, the cost of living, the proximity to Canada and my family in Toronto, the taxes, the traffic, everything led to come back to Buffalo, and that's why there's very active alumni association in Buffalo. A lot of players who have been traded or gone off to play other places have come back to retire to Buffalo as well.
Well, if we move ahead to kind of like current business, and we kind of mentioned, once you were done playing, you kind of settled here in Buffalo, New York. A lot of athletes you hear about, these are just the anecdotal stories. They lose all their money, and they're back where they started, but 10 times worse, Obviously, that didn't happen to you.
They're still playing hockey, right, Yager?
Yeah, some of those guys.
Okay, he went there. I guess my question in that is, what do you do when you're done being a professional athlete? This is a whole new path for you. What'd you decide to do?
Yeah, that's a great question, because obviously in our era, we didn't make the money they do today, nor did the guys in the previous era make the money we did. So it's kind of just, I guess, the way it is, which is fantastic, and I would never begrudge the guys the money they make. They should make it. You have a short window to make it, and they should make as much as they can, because it will end. But that's a great question, because the time, too, again, but you got to remember, in our era, you had to choose between an education and junior hockey. So a lot of guys only have high school education. Some guys didn't even graduate from high school.
That's a good point.
Especially the guys who played out west. Because if you look at the western teams that are in the league and the distance between cities, it's really far for a lot of those road trips. So a lot of those guys never even complete high school education. They have to go back and do it later. For me, when I first retired, I worked a year with my agent, Rich Winter, who was out of Edmonton. I was kind of his liaison out east here in Buffalo. Halfway through the year, I knew that's not what I wanted to do. I wasn't happy with doing that. Then I got involved with professional scouting. I was scouting for Tampa Bay for 4 years, and then I went to Florida Panthers for a year and did the scouting of the American League, the NHL, a little bit of East Coast, a little bit of college, and some European tournaments. So it was good, but it was a lot of travel. You have no home games. You have no home arena.
Nope.
So you have to go to a game every night. So you are away every night, which is hard on a young family. And the payback was you had your summers off when the kids were off for the summer. But it is grueling, and some guys do that a long time and still are doing it. So I did that for 5 years. Then the lockout came, and I got out of that. And then I had a great opportunity to go work with Uniland Development in Buffalo, New York, and I've been there almost 12 years now, doing commercial real estate sales and leasing for them.
Cool.
That's great, yeah. You're in the real estate world, and I know you have some other projects going on. We also saw that, are you doing some coaching right now, too?
Yes, I was approached by Rick Sealing, who is now the general manager and coach of the Buffalo Buttes, the professional women's hockey team in Buffalo. So he was looking for an assistant coach. We've coached previously together with our sons in hockey when they were playing for high school and travel hockey. So he asked if I would have interest in doing it, where he would work with the forwards and I would work with the defensemen. So I agreed to do that. Just finished coaching travel softball after, 15, 20 years, where my daughter just graduated college. So timing was perfect, where I had some extra time to do that. and just agreed to do that. So we're looking forward to the season starting up.
Oh, that's great.
When does it start up?
We'll start practicing in September, then opening weekend is October 9th, 10th, 11th, that weekend right there. Big
Was
weekend.
their first season ever, obviously, this
Last
year?
year was.
Last year.
Yeah.
And they lost in the finals to Boston.
Boston Pride.
Why
Yeah.
has it always got to be Boston?
They stacked their team.
Of course they did. Why wouldn't they?
Of course.
Deflated pucks.
Yeah.
And we always ask, is there something that's currently exciting you? I think you have another project going on that we wanted to get into too.
Yeah, with my no spare time.
I know you're busy. You are a busy man.
I gotcha.
You're a busy man.
We're actually starting a new sports website. It's actually going to be the first of its kind. It's a competitive conversation website, a debate type of format. So it'll be debates, blogs, and podcasts as well. So as an example, say the three of us are out for dinner somewhere and we're watching a hockey game and something happens and we are discussing it. We could discuss it all night long and there'd be no winner, no loser. So this is giving the people an opportunity to go to the platform, put the debate in. You can set the filter so that only the three of us can have that same debate, let the other people, members, watch it and vote on it. So we can set our timer for 30 minutes. It'll be live scoring, so as we're inputting our voices or our comments, people will start voting and we'll move up and down in the standings as this is going on until there's a winner and a loser. So you could have a side bet. Loser has to buy the next round of drinks or dinner. Or
Sounds good.
So the filters are good where you can do it to a debate between two people, or you can do it to the masses, whoever are out there. We're going to have professional athletes on board so they can start debates and the fans will get a chance to debate with the athletes.
Nice. And what's the name of this site? I don't think we mentioned that yet.
Yeah, sorry. The website is going to be fandoozy.com.
Awesome. Yeah. Now I have a few questions because, like you said, it's the first of its kind.
Yeah.
Is this going to be like a mobile platform? Is it a website? Is it both?
It's a website right now, but it is adaptable for your phone or your iPad or your computer, and then there will be eventually an app that'll just download as an app as well.
That sounds cool. And you mentioned athletes. Are you guys focusing, for example, on hockey or other all sports?
No, it's all sports. Involved with the project that we have Joe DeLamelier and Todd DeLamelier on the football side of it. It's going to be every sport and any sport, but again, the filters are so great so that you, as a member, you could put down whatever your interest is. So if I'm interested in bowling, harness racing, hockey only, any debate that comes up that has those terms in it, I'll get notified that there's a conversation or a debate going on in my interest. So if there's something going on about football and that's not my interest, I don't have to see it. So
that's cool.
It's good, yeah. So it filters out some of the
Nice.
stuff that you're not interested in.
That's definitely something exciting. You know, we asked about, what do you do once you retire? And you basically have a lot of balls in the air here. You're juggling a full-time job. You're doing some coaching. You're getting involved with app development.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about the behind the scenes of the app stuff. Again, I'm not that generation, but I'm trying to catch up and understand it also.
Well, cool. As we sort of bring this thing to a close, we always like to end with some final thoughts. So is there any advice you'd give to somebody who's just starting out or maybe has the same dream that you did to one day, pursue athletics?
Yeah, I think regarding athletics, if first of all you do it for yourself, you do it because it makes you happy. It's where you wanted to be. Don't do it for your mom or your dad or your coach. You have to really want to do it. And if you want to do it, it's the first and foremost thing that you should have in your own mind. And then once you make that decision, you want to do it, put 110% into it, and then do it right. Mm-hmm. Practice hard. Do what you have to do to get to that next level. Anything that's a detriment or a stumbling block, whether somebody's putting you down or you get cut from a team, don't let that get in the way. Take that as something to overcome. And I forgot this story. So a good example, as a kid growing up in Toronto, there was an organization called the Toronto Marlies who had the Maple Leaf logo, Maple Leaf colors. So as a kid, everyone thought it was kind of the minor Maple Leafs. So every kid wanted to play for this travel team. So every year I went to tryouts, and every year I got cut. Not once in my whole minor hockey career I made the team. And I would go even though I was going to get cut, but I wanted to play for them so bad that I would do what I had to do to try and make the team. Got cut every year, had to play for another organization, and just goes to show you, I guess, not everyone thinks you're a good player, but someone will.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
Good
cool.
advice. So Craig, before we close this thing out, maybe you could plug that social media one more time. Tell people where they can find you online.
It's fandoozy.com. It's a debate platform. You can win prizes for debates or blogs and eventually some podcasts. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting.
And if people want to follow you personally, what did we say in the beginning?
Twitter's at Craig Muni, and LinkedIn.
Hey, get on LinkedIn there.
Yep, and his address. No.
Yeah, Bill's got that memorized now.
Well, Craig, thanks so much for doing the show. I'm Rich Douglas.
I'm Bill Easton.
And I'm Craig Muni.
All right, guys. Craig Muni, man.
Craig Muni.
Wow.
What a guy.
NHL alumni, 3-time Stanley Cup winner.
It's an honor to talk to him. And, it sounds like he's not done yet. He's still hungry, still working. Fandoozy sounds like it's going to be awesome.
Yeah,
Yep.
and coaching the Buffalo Buttes, and, he's in real estate.
Have you gone to those games yet? Have you gone to one?
I
gotta go to one. I didn't go to one last year.
I can't wait to check him out. The season's right around the corner.
Yeah, we gotta go.
And speaking of Fandoozy, too, I got to sign up for that.
You didn't sign up?
No,
That's all right. Yes, I did. I got to get a debate out there. I got one I'm thinking. So I've been trying to put it out there. I'll do it. I'm going to do it.
You signed up. Awesome.
I did. I'm in.
Yeah,
I got to put my first. I'm going to put my first debate out there and get going on it.
Beautiful.
Sounds great, guys. And, to all the listeners out there, our season 2 is winding down. And so we are now taking nominations for season 3. If you remember, after season 1, we did the same sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So we'll have a few more episodes for season 2, but we are looking for interesting, successful people, good storytellers, and they need to have a social media presence as well, so they can kind of share the episode just like we do.
Yeah, we want to get the best of them, and hopefully, I want them to promote themselves too and show off what they have.
Absolutely. And I'll say this with tongue in cheek, but please do not nominate yourself. Okay, have a friend do it for you.
Yeah, Joe.
It's always funny.
Stop texting me.
It's like, who's your interview? Me. Why? Because. And that's it. But honestly, head to our website, Guys Telling Stories, and click on the Nominate tab. There's a little form to fill in. And if you think somebody fits the bill, please. No guest is too big or too small. We're just interested in successful people with interesting stories. So head to our website and let's get those nominations rolling in. All right, guys. Great episode. As always, you can find us online at Guys Telling Stories. Please subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. I'm Rich Douglas.
I'm Bill Easton.
And I'm Sean.
All right, until next time.